Welcome back to the 1% Show. If you're new here, tune in to hear me spin the yarns with authors, savants, and eccentric humans every week. I'm your Aussie host, Brandon Nankivell, and it's time to kick back and enjoy the show. Let's go. Do you find it difficult to find time to read? Well, I put together an online course that will teach you how to get twice as much value out of books by reading half as much. It will show you how to strategically select valuable books before you even invest time into reading them. This is something that speed reading courses don't teach you. It will show you whether you should be reading books, ebooks, or audiobooks. It will show you how to conquer your wandering mind, how to apply what you read so you can actually create real results, which is what reading is all about at the end of the day, and how to avoid wasting countless hours due to poor reading habits. It's a lifetime investment that will help you to extract more value from every single book you read from now on. To get started, head to EliteReaderAcademy.com. Again, that's EliteReaderAcademy.com. I'll see you there.
This is an honor. I love what you're doing, and this is going to be a lot of fun. And there's one topic that I know about, and that is me as far as okay, so sorry, I'm going off on a tangent. I've had a little bit too much caffeine. Yeah, myself, I'm a 41-year-old Italian from Philadelphia who always wanted to own a fitness center. And from the age of 16, that is the only thing that would make me happy, that would fulfill me, that was going to mean success for me. And so I went to college, West Virginia University here in the States, and had a business degree, got out, met a gentleman, and we opened a nutrition store. Unfortunately, he decided that there was more profit in selling drugs as opposed to nutritional products. There's a better profit margin. And so I decided it was time for me to leave that business. And I met a woman. We opened a personal training studio, and it was a miserable failure pretty much right away, but took us a few years to realize it. And long story short, about 10 years ago, I was bankrupt. I was broke. The fitness center had failed. I was driving a cart selling beer on a golf course, and I didn't know where I was going to go or what I was going to do. And one thing led to another. My wife gave me a video camera for Christmas. And I figured I'm an only child with a big mouth and a video camera. And so it was only logical that I started making YouTube videos. And at the time, I was trying to be an image consultant where I was helping guys with dating, with dressing, with grooming. And I decided to see if there was a larger market online for this type of advice. I'm not a super big, style expert or fashion vlogger. I'm just a guy who happens to know a little bit more about shoes and manscaping than he does about football. And so I'm a regular guy, and I love helping people. And what I've come to realize over the course of the past almost 10 years of making YouTube videos is that the reason that I'm here, the reason I love doing what I do is because I really enjoy helping people. And that's ultimately why I get up in the morning. And so that's why I keep doing it. And the other upside is that I am a serial entrepreneur, and I found that YouTube and building an audience and a community is a great platform in which to start and grow and expand other businesses and ventures. And so I'm a businessman. I am a YouTuber first and foremost, and I have failed many, many times. So that's me.
Absolutely brilliant.
Was that too long of a story?
No, that's great, man. Love it. So, okay. In terms of your content, you clearly know although you don't, I guess see yourself as like the style guy. When I look at your content, I think, holy shit, this guy certainly does know a thing or two about shoes and fitting jeans and looking good for the girls and just dressing well in general and really presenting yourself in such a great way. So what's funny here is that I'm pretty much your very typical customer avatar. I'm 22 years old, so I'm in my young 20s. And for my whole life, I've dressed like a piece of shit. Excuse my tongue. But after I saw your videos and Antonio's videos, I think, holy moly, I'm just open to this whole new world that I never knew existed for my whole 22 years of life. I can't believe my ex-girlfriend went through 3 years with me where I just dressed like a tool. Like, I can't believe it. Like, the baggy pants, just no watches. I had no awareness, absolutely zero awareness of what it meant to dress well as a man. And now I'm realizing that there's actually quite a few benefits. So my question for you is, why essentially does dressing well matter?
The one thing that I tell people is that, it is so incredibly competitive out there. We are competing constantly for everything, whether or not it's for the girl, the guy, the client, the attention, the happiness ultimately. And personally, I feel like you can't afford not to pay attention. What's going to set you apart from your competition? And the answer is by taking care of yourself. It's, we form opinions about people so incredibly fast. In the first 3 seconds upon meeting somebody, they know whether or not they're going to go home with you. They know whether or not they're going to give you the job. They know whether or not they're going to be your friend, because they are forming subconscious opinions about you that are, unfortunately, it's not something where we get it. We don't have a say in it, but the only thing that we can do is actually, we can pay attention and try and present the best brand of ourselves as we possibly can. Style and image and grooming and putting yourself together. Think of it like a personal package or brand. What is the brand that you want to represent, and what do you want to showcase to the rest of the world? And so you can't afford not to, because you're going to miss out on so many opportunities by dressing like a slob or looking like shit.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally starting to realize that now. So what are the most common mistakes you see newbies make who are maybe new to, dressing well? What are the most common mistakes you see?
The first thing that I would say is number one, first and foremost, is guys are not wearing clothes that fit them properly. There's a misconception that fitted clothes mean tight and uncomfortable, and that couldn't be further from the truth. A lot of guys, when they start, they're like, I'm an extra large, because they might work out, when in reality, they might be a medium or a large. So fit is absolutely, first and foremost, the most important thing. The other thing that a lot of guys do is instead of identifying and finding a style that resonates with them, they try and replicate what they see their friends doing. And a lot of times it's it's the style blind leading the style blind. And so they'll be doing things that their friends are doing, their friends are doing things that their friends are doing. And it's just a big circle of confusion. I just recommend that people go and find something that resonates with them. Do not fall prey to trends as much as you can, and really just focus on fit first and foremost.
All right, fantastic. So my next question then is, say I've got $1,000. So in terms of high-end clothing, maybe that's not a lot. But say you're on a budget, $1,000. You've just got nothing on. You're like me. You've got just bullshit clothes scattered all over the floor, no wardrobe or anything. But you're starting to realize the value of clothes. And you got $1,000 to drop on it. So you go to a business networking event maybe once a week, and you go out to the city twice a week, maybe to catch up with friends and have lunch or a coffee or something like that. So that's what your typical day looks like, or your typical week. So what would be the best way to spend $1,000? Where should I put my money first?
Put your money in the basics. A great pair of jeans, something that's a dark wash, so that you can dress it up or you can dress it down. You can wear those jeans with a nice shirt, possibly a sweater over top, or a jumper, or a sport coat, and a nice pair of shoes. Wear that to a business function or meeting, and it's totally appropriate. Depending on the level, of course, if business casual is okay. Also, a few button-ups, a few solid button-ups, like a white fitted button-up shirt, a light business blue button-up shirt. You can't go wrong. Maybe a lightweight sweater, depending on where you live and your climate. A nice pair of shoes. I would say a brown pair of loafers, something that is sort of a hybrid dress casual, so that you can wear it both in a city setting as well as a business environment. And really focus your money focus your money there, just on the basics. Maybe a nice pair of chinos, a light gray, or maybe even a tan. You want to make sure that what you're buying is versatile. A nice fitting t-shirt. You don't need to spend a lot of money in order to look great. You just need to know where to shop, and you need to try different cuts of clothing to make sure that what you're buying actually fits you and really complements your body, your coloring, and your lifestyle.
Interesting. So when it comes to fitting, do you advise getting maybe the lady at the shopping store to help you out getting the fit, or do you just sort of learn yourself?
No, absolutely. I think that getting a second opinion, or it's almost like working out. It's like a style spot. You get a spot when you're bench pressing, when you're starting to dress and you're starting to embark on upgrading your style. It's always good to get a second opinion, because you've been doing one thing that has been not necessarily 100% right. And so it's great to get a third party perspective. Maybe it's a friend, a girlfriend, somebody who, and personally, I feel like if you've got a guy in your life, a friend that you feel is stylish, that when you look at, you think, you know what, they just carry themselves incredibly well. Ask them to go with you. The sales associates are great, but at the end of the day, I'm a firm believer in it's better to get somebody who does not work in the store, because they're not going to be tied to a specific brand. And they're going to be able to say, yeah, that looks great. No, that doesn't look great. And they're also going to be able to possibly push you and point you in a better and a right direction to help you. But yes, I always recommend sizing down. And that's sort of a term that I have sort of coined, where when you go in, if you think you're a large, try the medium. If you think you're a 32 waist pant, try the 30. If you think you're a 42 jacket, if the sales associate tells you that you're a 42 regular in a suit, try the 40. Because a lot of times what you're going to find is that you're going to cut down on the amount of alterations that you're going to need, and it's not actually going to be tight. We, as a general rule, buy and gravitate towards clothing that is larger than we actually need or wear, because we've got this weird perception of our bodies. And, if you're a guy and you exercise, you think that, you're bigger than you are. And now, of course, there is the exception where some guys do dress in super, super skinny clothes, but you don't want to look like a sausage either. So get a third party perspective if you feel like you need it.
Wow. Yeah, you see, like, all that, I've briefly come across that stuff on your channel and Antonio's channel, and like, I didn't even know what the word loafers meant. I didn't know what the term interchangeability meant. So it's all very new. So I'm sure the listeners are going to benefit from this, especially if they've never looked into dressing well. And so when it comes to fitting, say you go to buy a pair of jeans like I did the other day, for example, and it fits around your waist, but it doesn't fit around your legs, or vice versa. So you've got, like, I don't know. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, it might not fit you around the waist, but it might fit really well around the legs, and it disproportionate.
Here's the beautiful thing. Yeah, well, here's the beautiful thing is that with jeans, there are about 8 different fits of jeans.
Wow.
And that's where a sales associate will really benefit you. If you go in to buy jeans, they've got all these different names for the fits for a reason. Slim straight, slim tapered, comfort, relaxed. Like, there are all these different things. And what those different names mean is that they are all going to fit differently in different aspects and areas of your body. So if you're a bigger dude and you need a little bit more room in the leg, you're going to want to go with something that is a straight fit. You're not necessarily going to want to go with skinny or slim, or you might even go with, something like a regular rise, or there are options out there for everybody. I've never really found somebody who I couldn't find a pair of jeans to fit them well. It's just about trying the different styles to see what fits your body best.
Sure thing. So do you get called either gay or like a metrosexual for being into clothes and dressing well? And if so, how do you deal with it?
Yeah, I used to get called, well, metrosexual is a term that sort of has, I think, come and gone. It used to be, I'd say 8-9 years ago, everybody that dressed well was called gay or metrosexual. But it's really starting to almost become, there's been a cultural shift. People are now almost embracing looking good and taking care of themselves. And so the stigma has really been eliminated, I feel, for the most part. And to be completely honest, some of the best dressed guys I know are as straight as they come. And I've, seen a lot of gay guys that I'm friends with that are absolutely horrible in terms of their style. And so, it's one of those things where it's never really bothered me. I know some men are a little bit more sensitive to that. And that's one of the biggest reasons why guys don't dress well, because they're afraid of what their friends will say. They're afraid of what other people will say. And the worst thing that will happen to them is that somebody actually notices. It's like, oh, Jim, are they new pants? And, a lot of times when we do that, we get all embarrassed and we deflect it like, oh, no, these old things. And and the best thing that you can do is own it. It's okay. And accept the compliment. That's the other thing that a lot of guys struggle with is they have a tough time accepting compliments. If somebody's saying something like, oh, I like your shirt, that doesn't mean you need to get embarrassed, and it doesn't mean that they think you're gay. It's just letting you know that, yay, that color blue looks fantastic on you, Bruce. And so own it, adopt it, embrace it, and let it be okay that people notice. A lot of times what you're going to find, especially if you are in a corporate culture, if you start dressing well and start taking the steps to improving your style, you're going to start to see other people starting to have the confidence to step a little bit outside of their box. The other thing I'll tell you about this subject is that if you are somebody who is a little bit more self-conscious and worried about people noticing, start small. Start with one aspect of your clothing, maybe your shoes, maybe a new pair of pants. And then each week, start adding to the repertoire or to your depth of wardrobe, and start integrating it. And so seamlessly over the course of a month, people didn't even notice that all of a sudden you are wearing now clothes that fit you incredible, that look amazing. And so one little bit at a time can collectively add up to an amazing transformation.
Incredible. And how much I got to ask this one. The next three questions are somewhat challenging. So the first one is, how much does dressing well matter compared to social skills when it comes to getting girls?
I've been married for 10 years. And so it's wild. I think it depends on the setting. It depends on the situation. I will say this, that if you don't dress well, you better have some kick-ass, amazing social skills, because, dressing well makes everything easier. If you're looking good, if you're dressed well, women notice. They notice your shoes. That's the other thing that a lot of guys are like, oh, they don't notice my shoe, or nobody notices shoes. Yes, they do. Women notice. And if you're somebody who is, and that's the other thing. If you take three guys in a room, line them up, and there's one guy, everybody sort of, looks good. One guy's dressed amazing or well. He's always going to have the first shot and the best chance of securing or landing a relationship, as long as his social skills are adequate. But yeah, I would say that personality then, will, depending on the situation, will trump style after you get to know somebody a while.
Damn right. Yeah, I remember reading a book. I don't quote me on this, but it might have been How to Stop Worrying and Start Living by Dale Carnegie. And it was just like basically this line that was the epitome of the fact that, girls think about clothes so much more than most of us guys do. It's just amazing. They go to clothes parties. They have, when I was with my girlfriend, all they'd talk about is clothes. They'd spend so much time putting clothes on. I never really paid much attention, but now I wish I did. And I think in the book it said like this lady was getting Alzheimer's. She was losing her memory. And the last thing she remembered, surprise, surprise, was what clothes she wore on a particular day 20 years ago. And that was just the highlight that, girls think about so much about, clothes, but I just can't believe how much, I think guys are gradually getting more into it lately, but it's just amazing how much girls think about clothes. I just can't believe it. But anyway, without further ado, my next question is, David Dieter in his book, The Way of the Superior Man, mentioned that a minority of men are feminine as opposed to what we call alpha. So my question is, what does alpha actually mean? And a feminine man trying to be alpha, isn't that him trying to be someone he's not?
when I use the word alpha, I use it and that's one of the interesting things. My YouTube channel is Alpha M, and my image consulting business was Alpha M Image Consulting. And I use that name Alpha because it sent a message. But as I've sort of gotten into this, and that's one of the things that people sort of joke at me about. They don't necessarily call me gay, but they say, hey, you're definitely a lot of things. Alpha is not one of them. When in the quintessential definition of alpha has historically been somebody who is tall, who is strong, who is masculine, who just has a presence about him that is just dominating. And what I've come to believe and really, I guess, adopt and sort of embrace is the idea of the modern alpha male. Somebody and the skill set that the alpha male in today's world and society has changed, has morphed. Now, as opposed to being strong and masculine and all this macho machismo, it's somebody, you need a different skill set. You need to be a good communicator. You need to be smart. You need to be educated. You need to be compassionate. You need to be a lot of things, but big 260 pounds of twisted steel and sex appeal is not necessarily one of them. And so, in terms of femininity, being feminine versus masculine, I'm the wrong guy to ask, because I would say that a lot of people would say that, I guess a lot of people would probably say that I could come across as a bit feminine, just because I'm a smaller man. I'm 5'6.5". I'm like 150 pounds. My voice isn't super deep. And I'm very well groomed. And so, I don't necessarily know if I answered any question or just went off on a tangent about the term alpha male. I think that's probably what I did. But, what was the question?
Yeah,
in terms of yeah, you know what? I'm a firm believer in be yourself as much as possible. And if there are aspects of yourself that you identify as feminine and you're uncomfortable with that, then absolutely do what you need to do to modify them if you can. But trying to be something you're not is definitely not the answer.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, that does it, man. Thanks for that. So next one is, why can Mark Zuckerberg and Steve Jobs get away with wearing the same old thing every single day?
Because they've got fuck you money.
I figured that'd be the case, but I had to ask. That's
it. They got fuck you money. You don't like it? Fuck you. That's it.
Right. They've already made it, dude. They can do what the fuck they want.
Exactly. But I think it really boils down to it's something, the concept of decision fatigue. And that's one of the things that a lot of, and is very common among very successful men, is that they will adopt a uniform, because it's one less decision that they've got to think about during the day. They're bombarded with very important high-level decisions, and choosing something to wear is something. Albert Einstein owned like 20 gray suits. Mark Zuckerberg, Steve Jobs, Mark Cuban, all these guys, they've adopted a wardrobe that is basically the same, so they don't have to think about what they're going to wear. And it makes sense to them. And to be completely honest, in some capacity, I think I've started to do that a little bit too. Not that I'm super successful, but I've started to really gravitate towards the same thing, just because it works. And I like wearing, jeans and a t-shirt and a leather jacket, and so I think that to some degree, there is something to actually take away from that, to be honest.
Yeah, definitely. It's next level stuff. So now onto the Shark Tank experience. I'm curious. Could you describe how your Shark Tank experience came about and how it felt up on stage in front of the sharks, both the first time and the second time?
So yeah, the Shark Tank is amazing. I love Shark Tank. It is my favorite show. I watch it every night on reruns, and I was actually just on the other night again. So it just came to be where I was a big fan of Shark Tank back for, watching season 3. I recently came out with an information product called the Alpha M Style System. And I was talking to my dad one day at coffee. It was a Friday. I remember it like it was yesterday. And he said, well, how are you going to market this? I said, I don't know. To my YouTube audience. He said, well, you should go on Shark Tank. And I said, Yeah, why not? And so I that day I went home and I went to the website. I sent in an email application. I got a call on Monday requesting more information, and it was pretty much a 3-month process from that point until I was actually going out and pitching the Sharks and doing the show. And so it was very, very fast and very, very nerve-wracking and very, very scary. But it was an amazing experience. The second time was better, but the first time was equally as fantastic.
And so when you were up on stage, how did you feel? Was your heart beating? Were you like, holy shit, there's Mark Cuban? Or did you just sort of roll with it and got lost in the zone? Like, how did it feel?
Oh gosh, it was so scary. It's so intense and you're so nervous, you're so worked up. And the interesting thing about the show, which you don't actually see, is that they tape multiple entrepreneurs in one day. They might go through 8. The other thing they don't show you is that when you're out there pitching, you're out there for sometimes, like the second time I was out there for an hour and like 20 minutes. And they edit that down to about 10. And so you're out there, you don't get to stop. You don't get to cut. You are going and you are getting grilled by some super high level, smart people. And the thing that always baffles my mind is that when I watch the show and you see people go out there, it's like they've never watched the show. You know exactly what questions they're going to ask you. And so you better be prepared. And so I think one of the things that I sort of had a little bit of an advantage going in is that I was used to delivering a message because I'm a YouTuber and I'm used to sort of projecting and being animated. So that was something I was very comfortable with. The other thing that I did before I ever went in there, I'm a very big believer in visualization. And so practicing my pitch, visualizing being in there and getting nervous and working yourself up. By the time I actually pitched the Sharks, in my mind, I'd been in there 2,000 times. And so the other really something funny and nerve-wracking is when you walk out, what you also don't see is there's a little X on that oriental carpet. You walk out and you're not allowed to talk and you have to just stand there for 30 seconds in complete silence and have like a stare down with the Sharks while the producers and everybody is tweaking the lights and the audio and everything. You've just got to stand there. And the first time, and then all of a sudden you hear like a voice come over the loudspeaker and just says, pitch. And you don't see anything. You lose all track of sound. The only thing you see are those Sharks standing in front of you.
Wow.
And so there I am. I'm all nervous. I'm about to pee my pants the first time. And all I see is Barbara lean over to Robert and say, oh my gosh, look at his ears. Because I've got pointy little elf ears, right? Okay, fine. But I'm sitting there thinking to myself, and I heard her. And so I'm about ready to pitch on national television, and you're talking about my ears, lady? Oh, God. And so, but the funny thing is, the second time I went back, I ended up getting a deal on the show with Barbara. And it was funny because I told everybody, they're like, oh, no, she's the one who made fun of your ears. I'm like, it's okay. It's nothing personal. They are kind of funny. But yeah, so it was awesome, though. I absolutely recommend it. If you're an entrepreneur, you've got a business, there's no better marketing exposure that you could possibly do and buy. They say that if you were to actually buy the amount of exposure in terms of airtime on a Friday night, that's where it airs here in the States, and 10 minutes on a major network, it would cost you around $8 million.
Wow.
For that slot. So it's like $8 million worth of marketing, advertising that you're getting for essentially free.
Wow, absolutely incredible. I don't know how much you're allowed to reveal, so answer it however you want. But in terms of the follow-up after, the deal with Barbara, what does that process look like within the 6 months after you've made the deal? Is it just like exchanging emails or what's the deal?
Well, I actually, what happened, I wouldn't know. And here's why, because as soon as I got home, so the second time I went on pitching my men's hair product company called Pete and Pedro. And it was, Pete and Pedro was a great business. It was very successful at the time. It was doing about $600,000 annually, and it was growing each and every month. And I thought that they were going to be all over it because I've seen them invest in much shittier businesses than mine. And so I thought, I've got this great network. I've got this audience. And so I was totally wrong. They didn't want anything to do with Pete and Pedro. They wanted to invest in me as an influencer and as a YouTuber. And so, basically the deal was, Barbara was like, oh, I'll give you $100,000 for 10% of your Alpha M business. And, I was like, okay, let's do that. And, so as soon as I got done, I got home, I thought about it, and I realized that I couldn't accept a business partner in my YouTube world because, the one thing as a YouTuber, as a social media person that you've got is your credibility. And the moment I felt that the moment I had somebody's finances tied to my ability to say no, it was a recipe for disaster and credibility. My credibility would go down the drain. And so everybody would always be thinking, oh, I wonder, if he really wants to talk about this, because as part of my business, I talk and I promote a lot of products on my YouTube channel. And so I didn't want to have a conflict of interest. And so I ended up turning that down as soon as I got back. But it was very, very, and the other thing that you need to know is, and that people probably don't realize, is that out of all the deals you see that actually happen on the show, only about 5% of those actually close.
Wow.
Other people so you've got this long due diligence process. So, it's just a handshake deal. By the time you get home, you can get out of it. They can get out of it. It's a time for you to sort of reanalyze, reevaluate the viability of the deal. And then, of course, you've got all these friends that are like, you took what for what? That's insane. Don't do it. And so most people, the majority of people that take deals on the show don't actually have the deals come to fruition.
Okay. So when you said to Barbara that you didn't want to go through with it after the show, I guess they're used to that sort of thing then.
Oh, absolutely. And you don't get to talk to Barbara. It's,
okay.
It's not like I called Barb up. Hey, Barb, you remember me? You're talking to her people. And the other thing that people that go on Shark Tank, I think need to realize, or people viewing, is that when you do a deal with this, you're even if they own like 10 or 15 or 20% of your business, in the grand scheme of their empire and net worth, and you are such small potatoes. And so they have people that are going to be working with you. They've got, they've got a team that is going to be the contact for you. All the follow-ups that you see where they're like, oh, Mark Cuban's so, available to me anytime I call. That I don't necessarily think I believe 100% of that. So, but
it makes sense with the amount of, pitches going through that system on Shark Tank and, weighing it compared against, to their time. It kind of makes sense that they've got a team to deal with that.
Yeah, it's like Mark Cuban has a basketball team. He's got 100 movie theaters. You think that, his 10% equity in your cupcake business is really going to be what he wants to or needs to spend his time doing? Of course not. And so,
for sure. So to finish up here, I think we've got about 15 minutes left. I've just got a few questions about yourself. Now, I don't know if you listen to the Tim Ferriss podcast or anything along those lines, but basically I'm just going to dish out a few questions that he usually asks his guests. So my first one here is, what is something you believe that other people think is insane?
That I believe that wait, say that again. Okay, what is something that I believe that other people think is insane?
Yes.
Oh boy, that you should exercise every day.
And why might that be?
Why might it be viewed as insane? Because I think that people have this misconception that you need to take breaks and that you need to give your body a rest. And I personally feel like if you're not breaking a sweat every single day, that you are actually hurting yourself in the long run, and that it's good to challenge your body every single day. It keeps you young and healthy. I think that is something that I think. I don't know. That's probably a bad answer. See, I don't get these in advance. Brandon, if you would have given them to me, I told you I'd give you some challenging questions.
I told you there'd be some challenges. That's all right,
man. That is
just... Do your best. Yeah. That's fine. So my next one is, here we go. You're nervous now.
I know. Now I'm like, oh, God. I'm getting a call. I got to go. No, I'm kidding. Go ahead.
All right, here we go. This one isn't too bad. I don't know if you read much, but I always ask my guests, what is the book you've given most as a gift? Now, if you haven't gifted books, then what is your favorite?
I don't read as much as I should. And I am a bad entrepreneur in that regard. But my favorite book that I've read that I recommend to people is Start With Why by Simon Sinek. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing his name right. Are you familiar with that book?
I am indeed.
It is it truly in the age in which we're living, and because I'm an entrepreneur, I saw his TED Talk and I said, I got to go get this guy's book, because it was one of those things. It was perception and life changing for me. And I think that if you're in business, if you're an entrepreneur and you're not reading that and really, sort of understanding the concept in which he's talking about, that you're totally missing out on the big picture.
It's really interesting. Do you have a view on, because I'm a real big reading nut. I really promote reading. I think books are amazing. They're filled with tons of value, decades of wisdom compressed into a $15 book. It's just crazy. And there's sort of this spiel lately that, Gary Vaynerchuk said, are you familiar with Gary V?
Oh, I'm familiar with Gary V.
Okay, yes. So Gary V, he's all over social media these days. He's doing 100 million or whatever with his company, and he doesn't read, and that sort of surprised everyone, including myself. But then you've got people like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates. They're books with legs. All they do is read. So there's this whole thing like, do you need to read to be a successful entrepreneur, or don't you? And just hearing that you don't read as often as you should, how do you think that's impacted your success? Like, do you need it, or can you just watch videos for consuming content? Like, what's the deal?
I absolutely believe that you can be successful without reading. But your road might be a bumpy one. I've been an entrepreneur for the past 20 years. And so a lot of my bad decisions, I am the type of person, I'm the type of entrepreneur, I'm the type of guy that has to learn things the hard way. Everything that I know that I shouldn't do is because I've done it that way once. And so I need to experience things. Now, one thing I will say is that even though I don't read every day, I write every day. I have a shelf full of about 40 journals. I write a video a day. All my videos are scripted. And so my day starts, the number one thing, most important aspect of my day is me writing a video. And so, that definitely does sort of give me a bit of a creative edge and forces me to think in a different way. But, I'm like, one of my best friends is Antonio Centeno, and he is a crazy reader as well. And it drives him crazy that I don't read. He's given me a few books, and I'm like, and so I was going on some shitty airline the other day, and I'm like, I got to take this book Antonio gave me. And it was like Scaling Up or something like that.
Yeah.
And, did you read that book?
I haven't read it, no, but go on.
Okay, so there I am, and I open it, and it starts talking. He's like, "Oh, if you didn't read this book, then this book isn't going to make any sense to you." I'm like, "Ah, shit!" And so I left it on the plane. I'm like, maybe somebody who's sitting here or after me will get some value out of this. But yes, I think that you can absolutely be successful. But that being said, I don't know any different, and so who knows? I might, be more successful if I might be in a different position and more successful if I had read. And so, I guess it's something where I will never know.
Yeah, it's really interesting because you can't really test both. Like you either read lots or you don't read lots.
But that being said, I also think that I see a lot of people, and I'm friends with a lot of entrepreneurs and a lot of guys that are very smart. They read a tremendous amount. And what I see is a lot of them, not all of them, obviously, they get bogged down on the minutia and they're so focused on learning that they're never actually moving forward. And it prevents them. It almost stifles their growth because, they're constantly consuming, but they're not actually producing. And so I see that a lot. And I'm not trying to take up for the side of you don't need to read, but I think there's probably a happy medium or balance that you need to try and obtain. And the other thing is, there's so much information out there. You can get great information and advice in different ways, in different arenas other than just books. But I don't know. I need to shut up before I sound even more stupid than I already do.
It's great what you say about
everybody knows that I'm an idiot now.
Cheers.
There, you got me.
Who is this guy?
Good job. Exactly. Who's this fucking idiot?
Bullshit. No, man, but no, really good point on balance. To be serious, that is a great point. Like I got nowhere for 2 years because I actually used reading.
Well, your whole channel is about you're taking these books and you're throwing them into a almost like a graphical representation and sort of like the Cliff Note version. I mean, so you obviously are the big advocate and somebody who can absolutely speak to the benefit much more than I can, obviously.
Yeah, well, luckily I am, because otherwise all that reading, I don't know, could have gone to waste, to be honest, because I didn't do anything for 2 years. I read for 2 years straight, but I didn't actually get anywhere. So it is a good thing in a sense that I am now utilizing what I did in those 2 years on the channel. So I guess in that sense, it has been worth it for sure. All right, so we've got about 5 minutes left, so probably time for 2 more questions. So this one is, what purchase of $100 or less has most positively impacted your life in the last 6 months?
Tweezers.
Tweezers, no way.
Yeah, man, I had a pair of crappy tweezers. You would think, that's a terrible answer, right? But hey, that's the truth.
No, I like
it. I'm Italian, so I'm hairy, and my eyebrows get nuts if I don't take care of them. And so I've been using these crappy tweezers just because tweezers you never think of, right? And so the other day I was at the store and I had these really bad tweezers and it would break the hairs and I would get ingrown hairs and it was terrible. I was at the store and I'm like, those tweezers look really nice. And so I thought, I'm going to spring for it. It were $10 tweezers, which is the most I'd ever spent on a pair of tweezers. And those things have made my life so much better. I enjoy using my tweezers. So I don't read. I'm a dummy and I'm incredibly vain. That's the takeaway from this video or
quality
this podcast.
Quality guest. This is gonna be great. Okay, cool. So with the little time we have left, I'm curious about your morning rituals. So you mentioned writing. Is there anything else you do in the first 60 minutes of your day?
Yeah, my day is very structured. I am a creature of habit. And when I get out of whack, my day sort of falls apart. Because I have 8 businesses, I have a lot to get done during the day. And so when I first wake up, first thing, I go downstairs, I give my cats treats, and I drink my apple cider vinegar, and I go to Starbucks. So within 15 minutes of waking up, I'm actually at Starbucks with coffee, and that's the first, I'd say 30 minutes for me being there is when I'm just getting done some of my busy work, like looking at accounts and responding to some emails. And basically that first hour at around 7 a.m. is when all of a sudden the caffeine kicks in, I'm alive, and that is the most creative time that I have during the day. And it's my time. It's quiet. I'm not bogged down with calls. I'm not getting bombarded by emails. I don't have anything else to do other than put my Pandora on, pop in my earphones, and write. And that is incredibly therapeutic for me. It's also just it's a time that I very much enjoy. As soon as I'm done that, by about 8 o'clock, I go and I exercise. I go for a run, or I go, to the gym, and I get exercise out of the way. And then by 10 o'clock, I am on with my day, breakfast, shower, to the office, and rocking and rolling for the rest of the day.
Brilliant. Love it. So the final question before I ask where we can find you on social media, and that is staying true to the 1% Better brand. So I want to ask, if there is one thing that men can do to dress better in order to make ourselves look 1% better, what would that one tip be?
One tip would be to get a tailored white dress shirt.
Tailored white dress shirt. Damn.
Tailored
okay.
white. And if you're not into white, that's fine. Get blue. Get some. Get a button-up dress shirt that fits you exquisitely. It's going to change your life. It was like the first time I put on a tailored shirt that was custom to my body. It was like the sea parted, the skies open. It's like, where have you been my whole life? All of a sudden, I look taller. I look more muscular. I stood up straighter. I made icon. I knew I looked good. And that is something that anybody can do, regardless of if you've got a pot belly or you're 150 pounds overweight. You can get a shirt that is tailored, that looks great on you, and you're going to feel amazing.
Okay. Awesome. So, all right. Awesome. So concluding remarks, this has been a lovely chat. It's been very lovely indeed, man. I'm going to have fun editing this.
I'm going to the bookstore immediately after this. I've canceled my appointments. I got to read.
I'm on your case, man. I'm watching. Yeah. So do you have any exciting projects that we should know about, whether you've got, I don't know, a product coming out later this year? And we also want to know where we can find you on social media as well.
Sure. The easiest place to find me is YouTube. Just type in Alpha M, ALPHA, M as in male, and you will find me. And from there, you can find pretty much anything. I just recently, actually, after 10 years, got the URL alphaM.com. And that is going to be live here in the next week or two. So depending on when this podcast is released, you can also go to alphaM.com, which is sort of my website that houses all of my businesses. So you can see my hair product, my skincare company, my conference, everything that I do in one place, alphaM.com.
All right, cool, man. All over it. So that's it. I just want to thank you so much for your time, and thank you for your patience. The listeners didn't see, but we had a few technical difficulties for the first time after interviewing 18 guests here. So Aaron, thank you very much for your patience, and thank you for giving us a piece of your time today.
Brandon, thank you for making me sweat, and thank you for having me on. This was a lot of fun, probably one of the most fun podcasts and interviews I've ever had the privilege to be a part of. So thank you, sir. You rock. Keep doing what you're doing, because it is amazing. For dummies like me, I need to brush up.
Thanks, man. Get reading, dude.
I know. I need to. Thanks, brother. You rock. I appreciate it.
Head to brandonnankivell.com/subscribe. This is also the best way to interact with me and keep up with what I'm doing. Again, head to brandonnankivell.com/subscribe. As usual, thank you for listening, my friends. I release new episodes every week. Make sure you don't miss one by subscribing. It's super easy and means a lot to me. Go to iTunes, search for The 1% Show, and click subscribe. Once again, I'm your host, Brandon Nankivell, and I'll see you in the next episode.